What up, what up, what up? It's your boy OQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ. It's another great show of the FTN Fantasy Show. And oh my God, we have preseason ball and things to discuss. Of course, I'm here with my guy, Matt Okada. What's going on, brother?
Football's back, kind of.
Yes.
Some football is back. At least a quarter of football is back. After that, it becomes maybe something else. But listen, we're a month away now from real football being back.
Less
So
than a month away, to be
crunch
technical.
time.
Less than a month away. It's insane.
Yeah,
Like I have football fever. Like I have red zone fever. Like I can't wait
Yep.
to get the pizza, wings, and beer and the couch, sit right in front of the TV and say 7 hours of maybe commercial free football
on ESPN.
Look at us as company men now, but we'll let that bus go by.
Brought
But
to
we're
you
talking
by Mickey Mouse.
we're going to be talking about our top 10 running backs. Now, me and Okada, we don't always agree when it comes to some of these players. So we give you both sides of the spectrum, which is great, and why you should be listening to this show if you have a draft this weekend. What to do at the running back position. And there's some honorable mentions that are not in our top 10, and it's definitely worth sticking around to hear why these guys are not in our top 10. But Okada, let's get into some preseason takeaways so far, and let's start with last night. Depending on when you're listening to this pod, preseason action was going down. And first on the list, it's Anthony Richardson, man. Oh, God, Okada. I know you've seen the hit. Like, I have to have your reaction. Like, oh, my God. Like, it was brutal.
I've seen the hit, and I've seen the long discussion thread on social media platform formerly known as Twitter, about who is responsible and why it happened. And let's
my
be very
God,
clear.
the who done it.
Yes, it was Anthony Richardson's fault. Okay, no question about it. He needed to know and diagnose what was coming, and he needed to get rid of the ball, one of his checkdowns, and he did not. That is part of the major reasons that Anthony Richardson is not very good at football, despite having unbelievable physical talent.
Yes.
And so that is why I, and I believe also you, Laquan, believe Daniel Jones was going to win the job in Indy before this injury happened. Now it looks like Richardson theoretically could play by week 1. It's like a pinky fracture, I believe is the terminology.
Yeah, it looked nasty.
It looked supposedly looked, it
seriously
looked worse than it really is. And the pinky's not like as important as some other fingers. However, missing the last month of prep and preseason heading into the season feels like the death knell for this starting job competition. I don't see how it's not Jones.
He needs a fresh start. Like, let's take the Band-Aid off right now. This is the thing about fantasy Twitter, right? You have the who done it, whose fault is it, who did this, who didn't do that. This is not a rookie quarterback, people.
No.
This is a third-year quarterback. Anthony Richardson has had the time at least to get the mental notes down of how to operate a quarterback position. Now, I don't want to go all in on him right now because a lot of it is just mental. Because at the end of the day, these are mental checks that you're taking before you come to the line. My God, if you have the protection sliding left, my brother, and the blitz is coming from the right, you throw to the blitz. You didn't even turn or look that way. So it's like at this point of time, the coaches have to look at this as like he is a liability to himself because he's going out there and he's getting hurt. Yep. It's just not clicking. Take the Band-Aid off. And I'm not even saying release him or cut him. Daniel Jones will be the starter week 1. So where does this leave us, Okada? Like, before we put a button on this, where does this leave us with Daniel Jones as a possible? Now, we're talking superflex. Now, if you got superflex leagues this weekend, this is a good topic. What are you doing with Daniel Jones in superflex leagues?
I would consider myself mildly interested in Daniel Jones as one of my QB2s. Certainly as my QB3, ideally. I don't want it to be my main QB2. He has shown rushing upside throughout his career. He's had stretches of passing upside, has not had the best receiving cores for most of his career, and now he has arguably his best one. I mean, obviously, he played with Odell for a little bit, but now he's got Pittman, Downs, also Tyler Warren. He's got a great running back.
Oh, yeah, he looked good too.
Yeah. So if you're in a super flex league or if you're in a best ball, and let me tell you something, Laquan, I got myself a few Daniel Jones best ball shares
Yes, let's
throughout my mini
go.
leagues. Then I'd be looking his way a little bit. Now I know you love him. Are you higher than that? Are you like QB12? Lock it in.
Nah, I can't lock it in. I can't lock it in
Okay.
because I will say, we did see a little bit of Daniel Jones, and it still kind of was like he was seeing ghosts. I know that's a Sam Darnold like kind of joke, but it was like one of those moments like, get rid of the ball, Danny, or take off running. It was one of those moments where he didn't use his superpowers. But again, it's preseason. It's been a minute. It's been a while. Week 1, that's when we'll have the full judgment of the version of Daniel Jones that we might be getting this season. But I'm willing to take him as my QB3 in these super flex leagues, because at the end of the day, you're drafting your QB1, your QB2, you're most likely starting to forget these two. But if there's going to be some spike weeks in there, man, especially with Tyler Warren, how he looked like, oh boy, I think Daniel Jones has possibility to touch that top 12, but I don't think it's a lock just yet. We need to see more, Okada. But I'm going to go to Baltimore. Now, this is a comeback story, that the underdog stories that we love hearing, man. And Keaton Mitchell, man, I mean, look, he could be making his way to being the RB2 behind Derrick Henry. Yeah, aging Derrick Henry, I will say. Not saying there's regression, ladies and gentlemen, but they may have an RB2. I don't think Justice Hill is valuable in best ball leagues right now. I don't think he's valuable as a deep stash anymore. I think Mitchell is the guy to target. He has some juice, 7+ yards per carry last night, Okada. Boy, was he explosive. I mean, what are your thoughts right now? Are you leaving draft day with Mitchell in the very, very last round?
This is interesting because I will be honest, I have not left any draft, I don't think, with Keaton Mitchell at all this season.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's two sides to this coin. One is what we saw last night, which was the efficiency and the explosiveness. That's what
Yeah.
we saw 2 years ago when he had that little run of like 6 or 7 games, never had double-digit carries, but broke off a ton of big runs and had some fantasy relevant weeks. So it's not like we're seeing fluky preseason action. This might be who this guy is,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. However, the flip side of that coin is there isn't really such thing as an RB2 behind Derrick Henry. Like, it doesn't really matter.
Why? Why not? I mean,
It
you remember
doesn't. It's
Deion Lewis? That was a thing. Come on.
true.
He
Well,
had his
okay, the
little
biggest
spike
thing
with
about Deion
Justice
Lewis
Hill last year.
before the Patriots was that he just annoyed us with how he took carries away from Derrick Henry, but he wasn't really ever that great himself.
Yeah.
Keaton Mitchell is probably a good best ball guy because I think he'll have a couple weeks where even though Derrick Henry is carrying the load, Keaton Mitchell gets 4 carries but takes one for a 40-yard touchdown, and then the other one's for like 30 yards, and all of a sudden you've got, he's sliding into your lineup in best ball.
Yeah.
The only way I think he probably ends up consistently cracking our redraft lineups is if Derrick Henry gets hurt. I don't really see it being likely that we're throwing him in our flex with Derrick Henry active. It's possible. It would be like risky or desperate in a deep league flex kind of situation.
Okay.
So now, if Derrick Henry were to get hurt, which almost never happens, Keaton Mitchell becomes pretty amazing value.
Oh
So he
man.
might be a good handcuff option to draft. I
You
just
know,
don't. I'm not getting
go ahead.
super excited, overly excited about the RB2 behind Henry, is what I'm saying.
This is where I say, now, I think I've told you before, Okada, like the most underrated fantasy tool is the watch list. And I think when you stack up that watch list, you don't have to run to the wire to see who's available when the pop off happens. You don't need to scramble and be like, what was that one guy's name? Like, it's a very helpful tool because it's in your face every day when you go to that wire. Keaton Mitchell is a watch list candidate. He may not be a guy that you come off the draft board with at the end of your drafts this weekend, but you definitely need to have him on your radar because I definitely think he's one of those guys that has that Jordan Mason aura. When he gets the keys and it's his backfield, he's going to perform amazingly. And again, I'm not comparing talent. I'm just comparing the aura that he brings, a dominance to that backfield. Because just a taste of that last night, Okada, I was like, yeah, I believe in the hype. I'm here for it because there's a running back in New Orleans, Kendre Miller, that we have yet to see hit these heights. They're kind of on the similar of battling injuries and trying to show us this. Mitchell has shown us this, and I am very, very interested. But Okada, I'm going to transition. Oh, what you got?
Well, just really briefly to where you would be interested or where I would be interested. There's a range that's ahead of where he's going now, but I expect he'll hop up into this range that has guys like Blake Corum, Devin Neal, Kareem Hunt, Kyle Monangai. I would take Keaton Mitchell over all those guys because I don't see them having upside with the positive case for them doesn't even, in my opinion, bring the upside that Keaton Mitchell brings. So if we're looking in that range, I would rather take Mitchell. Having said that, Rashard Smith is also going in that range, and I'd rather take.
Oh no, that's where we draw the line, Okada.
That's what I'm saying.
Not
That's what I'm saying.
Nope. We are off that train if it comes to BS. No, sir. But I want to go to Cincy now. A little bit of preseason action yesterday. We got a Chase Brown. I mean, he was very efficient in his carries. It's the starting offense out there. You had Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, the most snaps that they played together in a week 1 preseason since they've been together. So it's like one of those things is like they're trying not to start slow. They're trying to hit week 1, the ground running. They're trying to be 4-0 by the time a month of football is behind us. So with Chase Brown out there, we're able to see Taj Brooks. Now, Okada, if you caught some of his carries, some of the vibes that he was bringing, he's running hard. He's looking explosive. But I just had issues of times where it's like, dude, you're running into your old line. So what should be drafters' expectations? Are we handcuffing Taj Brooks? Are we watch listing him? Like, what are we doing with Taj Brooks?
I think Taj Brooks is one of the sneaky better handcuff options in fantasy this year. We haven't talked about him much. I haven't seen much hype about him. But Chase Brown has dealt with injuries in the past. He's not the biggest back. And I don't think that the Bengals particularly want to give him 250 carries, 300 touches. You know, it's not ideal, I don't think, for them or for him. So if they can have a guy, a pounder, a 230-pound guy, which is what Taj Brooks is, and they went out to draft him, obviously, likely for this reason, who they can give change of pace work, they can give short yardage work to, they can maybe give some goal line work to.
Oh, you said it.
And who's in
Magic
there,
word.
if something happens to Chase Brown, who can take a heavy, legitimate RB1 workload.
Yeah.
I think that's what they want, and I think that's what we want in fantasy when we're handcuffing players. You're telling me I can get a 230-pound, would be the bell cow, good running back.
Yes.
On one of the best offenses in football. That is the recipe for handcuffs. So, I mean, there's some guys who have like more upside if their running back doesn't get hurt, who would be more like highly drafted handcuff options.
Yeah.
But as far as the guys who aren't going to do anything unless their guy gets hurt, Taj Brooks, I think, is probably one of the best of those.
I agree, because when you look at Brooks, he's closer to Joe Mixon's build versus Chase Brown to Joe Mixon's build. They're still chasing that Joe Mixon like ghost. And I think Brooks, he can be an actual workhorse. And I think he's going to cut into some of this production. 17 games. And they're hoping to be playing in February. This is a long season for Chase Brown. Like, he's not one of those bigger bats that you can just throw the workload on. Like, I think Kyron and him are similar in types of what they can do, right? Kyron has gotten the workload,
yes,
but has a injury history as well. So that's always going to be in the back of your mind. You may not agree with the workload, but that's just what the Rams have given him. But what the Rams have also done that the Bengals have done, they brought in competition in that backfield because there is some type of 1-2 punch they want to get done back there. And I think that's the only way an offense can have an actual successful rushing attack. You need to have that change of pace or different play types to be able to hit in the striking distance. But Okada, top 10 running backs are coming up next, man. I am hugely surprised that some guys are not on your list. And then I look at my list and I'm like, I might have gotten some guys wrong, but we will get into that when we come back after a short break. And we are back. And of course, we want to dive right into the heat, man. It is a hot consensus top 10 running back list that I put my 10 versus Okada's 10, and then we put it together and see where the medium comes down to. Okada, where you want to start? Last week, we started at the bottom for the wide receivers. I mean, where do you want to start? You want to start at the bottom for the running backs again? Like, what are we doing?
I think we got to start at the bottom just to keep things spicy all the way to the end.
Okay. So we want to start on the consensus, or you want to pick a guy that's on your list at 10 that you think should have made my list? I don't know.
Well, we can talk about that guy because my number 10 did not make our top 10 because he didn't show up in your top 15, which is so I'm gonna have listen. I'll tee you up on this because I think you're the one who's got to do some explaining. I got Breece Hall at 10. Now,
Yeah.
admittedly, the most recent news out of camp has been kind of Braylon Allen hypey, and maybe that plays into your ranking a little bit. However, I still see Breece Hall as one of the more talented backs in the league, one of the best pass catching backs in the league, and our rankings are, PPR-ish.
Yeah.
Uh, it's hard for me to imagine him not seeing 225 plus carries and 50, 60, maybe 70 catches. And with that kind of volume, it's hard to get him out of my top 10 or 12. You got him well outside there, it would seem. So tell me why.
Now here's the thing, right? Now I know Breece Hall is one of the best pass catching backs out here. I know we remember the seasons he's had 70 plus catches. I'm thinking that he regresses in carries, he regresses in touches in total. Okay. I think Braylon Allen is real, and I think they want to utilize him as much as they possibly can on the ground if he remains efficient. But I do think that Breece Hall plays a huge role in the passing game. I think that he gets less than 200 carries. I think that he gets in that range of like a 45, maybe 45 to 50 catches this season, which isn't terrible. I just don't know where this guy's going to sit in the touchdown department because, again, this is us believing, having him in the top 10, that the Jets offense is actually going to be good. Like, we have these blinders of hope. It's still Justin Fields. It's still that Jets O-line. I mean, this is a new coaching regime that's in there. There's a new culture. The vibes are high, but we haven't had anything. Everything on paper looks good, sounds good when it comes to your ears. A sweetness that, hey, we're on the up and up. But come week 1, week 3, week 8, week 10, week 14, right before the playoffs, we're going to have all different emotions and thoughts about this Jets offense if we were right or if we were wrong. But I have very low expectations for this Jets offense to come together. I think more so Breece Hall might end up being a valuable RB2. Putting him top 10, I will make believe like, okay, he could be an RB1 as a finish. I think he finished as a RB2, and we're putting the wrong stamp on him right now.
Ooh, man.
Was that hot?
I guess we'll
That
see.
wasn't hot. That wasn't a hot take.
I don't think it's a hot take, and I think Breece Hall is one of the guys where I can very much understand not having him ranked as highly because there are clear red flags. Like the offense is a red flag, Braylon Allen is a red flag. Those are like, admittedly, you can't really argue against those things. You can
A
just
toxic
say
relationship.
true. You can just say I weigh some things higher. I will say, the Jets have been a garbage offense the last 2 years. He scored 8 touchdowns and 9 touchdowns. That's probably where I'd have him. Again, I don't think he's going to be a double-digit touchdown guy, but I think he mainly rides his way into my top 10 based on the PPR upside.
And I think people were underrating like the Alan Lazars, the Josh Reynolds of the world. I mean, Mason Taylor dealing with a high ankle sprain, but this is still an offense that needs to feed their pass catchers. Like, this offense needs to be productive. And I think having Breece Hall as your number 1 pass catcher, or sorry, number 2 pass catcher, I don't think this is going to be looking like a good offense. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how valuable Breece Hall is going to be with Braylon Allen. Literally a roadblock. That dude is huge. Like, you have his his like teammates are comparing him like he could be the next Derrick Henry. Like, when I saw that on the timeline, I'm like, that's not even crazy to think, actually. Like, he could be the next Derrick Henry just based off the build. But I don't know, man. Let's move to 9 because on this list, right, when I look at number 9, Kenneth Walker, and I think we kind of have an understanding, right? He's our consensus number 9. Now I have him ranked at 10. You have him at 9. So we meet there. I think you can really flop from 10 to 9 on my list. Like it wouldn't make a huge difference, but we have an agreement. Like Ken Walker's being disrespected right now. And where are you at with the Zach Charbonnet hype? Like, where are you there? Like, there's obviously a plan for him to be the backup, but like, are you handcuffing when you're drafting Kenneth Walker this weekend because you know his injury history? Like, what are we doing there?
No. So first thing I'll say is almost exclusively, with maybe some very rare exceptions, I do not intentionally seek out handcuffing the backs that I drafted as starters.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is if your starter gets hurt, you're just filling in the hole and you're not gaining anything. You're probably actually losing something because they're probably not going to be as good as the starter was. More typically, I will draft handcuffs for other people's running back ones so that if something happens and they become stars, now I have multiple great running backs to play with. So that's just like a strategic approach for me.
Yeah.
I don't care about taking Charbonnet. I haven't gotten any Charbonnet in any best balls or any other drafts this year. I think he'll be involved. I think he'll be a change of pace back. He'll probably score 4 touchdowns. He might see 120 carries or something like that. I just really do not care. I think first of all, I think this team's going to be very run focused. I think that every move they make this offseason was to say, we've thrown the ball more than we like recently. We want to run the ball and play defense if we can. So
yeah.
I think there's a chance that Zach Charbonnet has a lot of carries and Kenneth Walker still has 250, 260 carries. But the best thing about Kenneth Walker is, A, he's a great pass catcher. B, the new offensive system that they're bringing in is very positive for pass catching running backs. And C, he is explosive. So he's not the plodding guy who needs 300 carries to be an RB1. He could do it with much less. Now,
Nice.
I think the most important thing that needs to be noted, Laquan, is that both of us are way above consensus because ADP for Kenneth Walker is RB17, and we both have him in our top 10. He's our consensus 9.
Insane. That's insane. Wake up. The
But
fantasy streets need to wake up. That's all I got to say.
I don't know. They're afraid of the injuries, I imagine.
But we have CMC at RB4. Like, oh my
True.
God. We'll get to that later. Listen, I do feel like we need to spoil, some of the people that are listening right now. There's 2 names that were not said. We're gonna get the honorable mentions out. There's 2 names I want to talk about. Chase Brown and Bucky Irvin. They are not in our consensus top 10. I know the fantasy streets have them in their top 10 of where they're ranked and where they're at in ADP right now. But you and me, why did me and you come to terms with Chase Brown and Bucky Irvin not being in the top 10?
Well, in fairness to those guys, both of us have them just outside of our top 10, basically. So it's not like we hate them. They're up there. For me, they're actually very, very similar. So it's funny that they ended up like this and that you're teeing them up like this. I think both guys are on the undersized edge of RB1 or RB1 for a team, or certainly RB1 for fantasy range. They looked very efficient when they came into starting workloads that we didn't really expect for them, and I don't think their teams even expected for them. And they both have backs behind them that I think are capable and can take significant work. In Bucky Irving's case, it's much more the pass catching work. Rashad White's going to catch the passes, and Bucky Irving's not. In Chase Brown's case, like we just talked about, I think Taj Brooks could vulture a bunch of short yardage, maybe even some goal line stuff. These guys just, to me, are 220 carry guys instead of 260, 200 plus, 250 plus carry guys, and they don't necessarily bring the pass catching workload that someone like Breece Hall, who just does crack my top 10, does. And that helps kind of counteract their lack of workload. So I like both. I think both will be good-ish, although I'm never drafting Bucky Irving because I have him all the way down at 15, which is way lower than ADP. But I just don't think either of them are quite RB1s for me. I like the guys in my top 10 better.
I respect that because I'm right there for you because
Okay.
I do feel like, we're at what number 8 right now. Josh Jacobs, man, you got to explain to me. I think you're a little too low on Josh Jacobs, or where you have him ranked outside your top 10, where he sneaks in at number 6 for me. Why are you so low on Josh Jacobs, my guy?
Okay, I can be pretty quick here because there's two reasons, and I think to me they're very easy, very simple. Again, I
Okay.
don't hate Josh Jacobs. I have him at 11, but there's two reasons. One, he saw 300 carries last year. Back coming off of 300 carry seasons are typically not great investments. They are going to drop from that either because of volume changes, potential injury. Obviously, they had a lot of wear and tear that year before. So that just gives me some immediate hesitance. Then the second thing is, and I think it answers the first thing for me, the Packers ran at an absurd rate last year. They
Oh
were
yeah.
30th in the league in pass rate, which means they were third in rush rate. Uh, I've written some articles this year about Jordan Love having a bounce back, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that the last time the Packers had a pass rate this low was 1978. It's
Wow.
something 30 plus years, 40 plus years ago. I
I'm about to say
believe the
neither
number is
one of us were
1978.
born. Jeez. Wouldn't have
Exactly.
thought of.
So they still might want to run the ball, and they still might run
Mhm.
the ball quite a bit, but it's not going to be on the order of magnitude that it was last year. It just simply is not. Like, this is not a well, there's a chance they might throw a little more. No, they are going to throw more and run less this year. Even if Jordan Love gets hurt, they're going to throw more and run less. It's just the way that offenses, math, regression, all of it works. They're not going to be 30th in the league. They're not the Ravens or the former Titans. Basically, whoever has Derrick Henry.
Facts.
Um, so I think Josh Jacobs is going to see a big dip in volume, and the coming off of that 300 carry season just grants me some concern. So that takes him from like mid-range RB1 where he finished last year to I think he'll be a fringe RB1.
I'm
You still
chasing.
got him in that mid-range though, so you feel confident?
I feel confident. I'm chasing them
Yeah.
touchdowns, man. I'm chasing the
Yeah,
touchdowns. I
he
know
might score a lot.
that's a bad strategy, but man, they feed that man when it comes to the red
Yes,
zone, and they are going to
true.
be creating a lot of scoring opportunities, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm gonna get to this tier. I would say this tier because this is a freak athlete tier. We got Devon
Mhm.
Achan, CMC,
Ooh,
and Ashton Genty. Oh my god. This is juicy now. In
okay.
our consensus, these guys are literally back to back to back. Now, in our personal rankings, we kind of have these guys moved up, moved down, but I think we both need to have a discussion about Ashton Genty. Now, recent preseason performance, it's out of this discussion. We don't care. We're not taking preseason Ashton Genty 3 carries into this discussion as a negative. Okay, we are talking about the potential and opportunity and expectations for this young man in 2025. Now, Okada, you have him as your RB4. I have him as RB7 behind Josh Jacobs, who we just talked about.
True. Yeah.
Now, why are you so high, right? Why is he worth a top 4 stamp?
All right. First of all, let's just be very briefly make note on the preseason performance. If you watch the carries, one of the carries he lost multiple yards. He juked the socks off the first guy that got to him, and then the offensive line had fallen into such shambles that there was nowhere to
Oh,
run. So I
this is
actually
my
thought that was
pretend
a
to be
positive.
surprised look. Oh, the O
Yeah, well,
line fell
it's a
apart.
fair
Oh,
point. It's a fair point. Here's the thing. We have a very strong history over the last decade plus of running backs that get drafted this high. It doesn't happen as much as it used to, but when it
mhm.
happens, it means a lot. And we need to immediately pay attention in fantasy. Now, Ashton Genty in particular has arguably the best production profile of any of those guys of the last decade. You do have to take up a little bit of a grain of salt because of where he played and the competition he was playing against. So I won't say he's the best running back to be drafted in the top 5 or 10 over the last decade. There are a number of other guys in our top 10 right now who were those guys.
Mm.
However, we have seen it time and again. Running backs getting drafted this high, the teams that do that intend to absolutely feed that guy. You do not spend that kind of draft capital on a running back and not feed the living daylights out of him from year one, from game one, from snap one. And I think Ashton Genty is a very talented back. So do I think this offense is going to be great? No. Do I think that the offensive line is particularly great? No. Do I think that Ashton Genty is going to have 300 plus carries and 50 plus catches? Very possibly. Would I bet on him as one of the favorites to lead the league in touches? Yes. So he might not be the most efficient, although based off what we know from him talent-wise, maybe he just overcomes the offense and the O-line. But he is going to have the volume, and volume is king for me in fantasy, so he's number 4, and it's pretty easy for me.
You know what? I'm not mad at that. Because I wouldn't be mad if you swap my rankings where I have Genty at 7 for me and you put him at 6 for Josh Jacobs. That's cool. But that's as far as I'll go. Now, reason for that being, I don't know if he has more targets or catches than a Saquon Barkley. I don't know if he has as many yards on the ground as a Saquon Barkley. Like, I don't have Genty breaking that tier. Like, I don't have him crashing through that ceiling really where I have like a Gibbs or a Saquon or a Bajan. Like, it's one of those things where Ashton Genty, he can have 1,100 yards. He can have like 6 to 8 touchdowns. That is a great rookie season. That is overachieving what this O-line is possibly going to be. Like, my expectations for this Raiders offense is just like you, Okada. Like, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be one of those things like, thank God that Genty's getting the ball 20 to 25 times a game. Thank God that they managed to score 2 touchdowns, and both of them were from Ashton Genty. These are the things that we're going to be saying. And again, I'm not going to put him in that high tier like a lot of folks that are coming back outside for fantasy football right now. They're talking about the hottest rookies, and Ashton Genty is going to be one of them. That's why you see him coming off the board as high as like RB2. So it's like insane to see that people are willing to reach that high for the new shiny toy. But folks, wake up. Don't get burned, and just take the expectations a little bit back, and don't be so bullish on the rookies, man. Like, Okada was dropping numbers the other day, man, of like how it's so hard to hit as a first round pick. Like, it's one of those things that you just have to relax, be cool, calm, and collected. Let the value fall to you. Now, Okada, let's get to where we basically are chalked at, man. Like, our consensus, man, like, I love that we have an understanding that it's Bijan Robinson at the number 1. So we don't even need to really like speak on that. Same thing with Gibbs. Like, we think there's a lot more on the table for Gibbs. Where it needs to be a discussion at is really with Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. And I want to throw Christian McCaffrey in there one more time too, because he is also not ranked anywhere near where we really have him ranked. You have him at RB3. I would say consensus on Underdog, he's at RB4. Him and Genty are basically swapped. Talk to me about Derrick Henry and Saquon first, though. Like, is this just like a toss-up in the air? Like, you're expecting the same type of season last year in a sense of like production-wise as RB1 with these two?
So I have Saquon one spot ahead of Derrick Henry right now, and I would say that is based primarily on believing that Saquon probably has, oh man, it's tough to even say this. I would say a little more juice, but Derrick Henry doesn't really lose any juice, so it's kind of hard to say that. Here's basically the thing. And the main takeaway here, anyone listening is probably like, what in tarnation do you mean Saquon Barkley is your RB5, Okada? He was just the best running back in fantasy by a mile.
We both agree on that.
I have written about it ad nauseum this offseason, and I just mentioned it with Josh Jacobs, but it's even worse with Saquon Barkley, who was just the number 1. When a guy has that kind of touch count and it finishes as the RB1 overall, it does not happen again the next year. We also talked about it with Jamar Chase in the wide receiver episode, where wide receiver 1 overall does not repeat as wide receiver 1 overall. But it is much more significant for these running backs. I'll give you just some quick numbers from one of my articles at FTN this year. Since 2015, so that's 10 years of football, 13 running backs topped 350 plus touches and then played a subsequent season after that. Okay, so Saquon Barkley obviously will be added to this group. Every single one of those 13 saw fewer touches and scored fewer fantasy points in that subsequent year. And they averaged, as a group of 13 backs, 152 fewer fantasy points on 127 fewer touches. There is this thing in fantasy football, in math, in the world, ladies and gentlemen. It's called regression to the mean. When someone has an outlier that is massively outlied, unless their name is Derrick Henry and they're literally an alien and not a human being, so they don't follow
Made in the lab
the normal rules, they will regress back. Also, even Derrick Henry has regressed back in this way previously, but he's like the only guy who keeps his numbers really, really close when this happens.
Yeah.
Saquon Barkley has been one of the guys to do this and fell considerably the following year. He finishes RB5 one year, and then with this many touches, the next year he was the RB13. Am I saying he's going to be the RB13 this year? No. But am I saying he's going to fall from RB1 to RB5 because this is just how the world works? Yes. And I know it's tempting to say, but very little to nothing has changed in Philly. They're still one of the best offenses in the league. They might repeat as Super Bowl champions. They still got a great line. And Saquon Barkley's still great and young, not as old as Derrick Henry. So what's going to change, man? Nothing's going to change, Okada. It's all going to be the same. He's going to repeat. No. Every year that a running back does this, we say those things the next year. It always makes sense, and it never happens. So I just can't do it. He will not be in my top 3. Right now, he's my number 5. I could see myself moving Derrick Henry above him. I could see myself moving Devon Achane above him. It's just the way the world works.
I want to end on this. Christian McCaffrey. Now, we know he's a hot commodity. We know that folks are willing to take him in the first round. He is ranked in a lot of top 3 backs of these rankings in the fantasy streets. I hear it. I understand it, but I'm very fearful. If I'm looking at my draft board right now, I have the 110. Am I smashing Christian McCaffrey there? Pause. Okada.
If he gets you at the 110, I mean, I'm smashing with all the smashers I've got. I've got him at my 103, so or my running back 3, I should say.
Yeah.
So if he's available at 110, it's easy for me. But you don't have him that high, so I'm curious where you'd go.
Now, would you move up? Would you take him at the 105?
Ooh, okay.
That's where we need to start the debate. Right there.
CD and Chase, for me, I'm taking over Christian McCaffrey easily. And then McCaffrey is my running back 3. So the only question is, am I taking Justin Jefferson over Christian McCaffrey? No, I don't think I am. So I think that Christian McCaffrey is my 105.
Now, what about Gibbs? I'd rather Gibbs at that 105.
Yeah. No. I go Gibbs. I go Gibbs and Bijan, and I go CD and Chase. Those are my easy top 4.
So it feels like the 107. Let's move it together. The 107, okay. He's a smash at 110, and now we're at the 107. You are possibly looking at a Malik Neighbors or Puka Nacua right there at that 107. It gets spicier. Are you taking CMC over Malik Neighbors?
I'll tell you what, Laquan. I got Nico Collins as my wide receiver 4, and then Puka and Malik Neighbors right behind him. If I can get Nico Collins, I will take him over CMC. But other than that, well, no, I'm not even doing that. Who am I kidding? I'm not doing that. Nah, Christian McCaffrey. It's Christian McCaffrey.
Listen, this is why we have the discussions here on the FTN Fantasy Show. Please make sure you use the promo code FTN Show when you subscribe this year for fantasy content. Okada, we're not done here because we still are at the 107 spot. And you just said that you would take Nico Collins over CMC. So let's move back. Now hold on. You said it was a smash at the 110.
I changed my mind.
But listen, not many people are having this discussion before their draft. No. They're just blinded on what we've seen in the past. Yeah. This guy has played 64% of his plays. 64% of his games since 2021. He's 29 years old. He's having multiple injuries per season. If we go back, he has multiple injuries per season. where he has the high ankle sprain in 2020, the shoulder injury in 2020. Mind you, these injuries were split from him coming back from injury and getting another injury. Oh, how did he finish last season? He had an Achilles
Injured.
coming into the summer, and now he has a torn PCL. This is not the Achilles. This is a whole new injury. His body is speaking to him, and he's been speaking to us, and we have not been listening. We have not been seeing these moves. They've been going under the radar. My man just had a baby this year. Congratulations. The year before, he got married. Do you understand how much distraction is going on in his life at 29 years old? At 29 years old. You are not really reading the flags. His body is speaking to him. I do not believe. Absolutely not. Reason why I have CMC so low, and I say so low, he's at my RB8. Now, hear me. This is a guy that is 29 years old and has suffered multiple injuries in the last 4 seasons. Anybody else, we will be looking away, even if it was Josh Jacobs or even if it was Saquon Barkley, which at one point it was Saquon Barkley. If this was Devon Achane, if this was Derrick Henry, we would run away. And folks, listen to me when I say this. He is not the pass catcher you thought that he was going to be coming from Carolina. He hasn't cracked 70 catches since he's been in that red and god-awful gold or bronze, whatever it is, the 49ers, 40 whiners. It's been 30 years. Get a ring. I just had to throw that dig real quick. But he has not been that pass catcher that you have hoped and loved. We haven't seen it. He's just been riddled with injuries after injuries, and it's multiple injuries in different areas of his body. He's a running back. He's going to take most of the blows. He's going to be taking those hard hits. I am just sitting here looking at the draft board. We are at the 107 at this point in discussion. I cannot take CMC from 107 to 112. He has to be a second-round pick. I need that wide receiver there. I need a Nico Collins. I need a Blink Neighbors. I need a Drake London, A.J. Brown. This is where the discussion ends up when you're on that draft board this weekend or the weekend after that. We have to understand CMC has told us and shown us exactly who he can be, but he has also shown us who he cannot be in the last couple of years, man. He cannot be this workhorse guy anymore. His body is breaking down. That's why you draft Isaac Guerrero and the Jordan James. That is the end of my rant, Okada. Please put a button on this.
Okay, well, listen, Laquan, you have to give me a number of seconds for this button. It could be 30, it could be 60, it could be 400, but you got to give me a number of seconds because I could go a long time on this. And we're already over time because we love talking about running backs.
This is a good discussion. We can clip this as its own discussion, this Christian McCaffrey debate. We should have him on trial again, actually, in the next coming weeks. Or we should bring his ADP in review. I don't know. We might bring back one of these cases, but at the end of the day, Okada, this is a conversation that needs to be had. Give me 45 seconds right now.
Okay.
On the preview
45 is going to be tough, but I'll do it. All right.
Let's go.
Yes, the Christian McCaffrey injury history is really, really rough. I will say this, however, in the seasons he's been healthy, and there have been some recent ones, 2023, he was healthy all year. He always plays the entire season. So it's been spotty, but when he's there, he's always there. When it comes to injury, I go to a couple people. I go to Stephania Bell. I go to Matthew Betts from the Fantasy Footballers. Stephania Bell has written an article this year. You can go check it out, where she says she believes more in Christian McCaffrey's resiliency and his ability to come back from injury than she is concerned about the injury history. Matthew Betts, when I asked him confidence level on McCaffrey being healthy, he said 7 out of 10. Is that 10 out of 10? No, but it's of course not going to be. And 7 out of 10 is way above average for me. And ultimately, it comes down to this. If he is healthy, and I'm playing to win my fantasy football leagues, if he is healthy, Christian McCaffrey is the best player in fantasy, no question, the number one running back, the number one non-quarterback scorer, and the number one pick, 101 overall, if he is healthy. The only reason he's not 101 is because we're so scared of the injuries. I just don't believe in betting on or predicting them. I'm going to draft based off of what I can get out of the player, and what I can get out of CMC is the best player in the league.
Screw it.
Was that 45
we're going
seconds?
to trial.
I think it was longer.
It was longer, but screw it. We're going to trial. Christian McCaffrey will be on trial. and this needs to
Bring
be
the
ironed
gavel.
out. We need to bring the gavel. We need to bring the jury. We need to bring the smoke because God, man, this is going to be the biggest discussion in these league rooms. Like, I honestly
It
think
should
like
be.
all my friends are going to be very, very bullish on CMC just based on talking to my friends. They still think this is 2019 CMC. Like, they're still thinking 85 catches are on the table for CMC, 1,000 yards on the ground, 1,000 yards through the air. It's been very long since we've seen that. We have seen his body break down since we saw that. So we will take this to trial. And again, this has been a great episode of the FTN Fantasy Show. Please make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and we'll be back next week. Okada, tell them where they can find you at and what you got coming up. What you writing next week?
This is actually extremely relevant. I totally forgot this is happening. First of all, you can find me at Matt Okada on Twitter or Matt Okada on Blue Sky, I think. I say Twitter still, X, whatever it is.
Twitter.
However, you can also find me in the article streets at FTN. And next week, Laquan, I am writing an article on the injured guys from 2024 and whether we are buying in or selling at their prices in 2025.
Bring it to trial.
There's going to be a whole section about Christian McCaffrey. I can guarantee it. So sometime around Wednesday next week, look for that article. It'll be before our podcast. So check it out.
All right, man. Listen, I can't wait to get into trial mode next week. I am going to be a fair judge. I will be a fair judge and have a fair jury. But at the end of the day, man, we need to iron out these discussions before we hit that draft board. So make sure you guys, again, like and subscribe. And again, we'll see you guys next week for another great episode.